All right. There's Rachel. All right. Welcome, welcome. It is Wednesday evening, 7 o'clock. Hi, Rachel.
Hello there.
Um, I am going to take the accountability and say that we are late because of my shortcomings. I don't understand uh, technologies probably as well as I should. And I kind of struggled with getting a presentation uploaded ahead of time. So I'm running a little bit late because of that. But tonight we wanted to come to you guys this evening and just talk about insulin resistance, what that means. I know, and the ladies can kind of share their story as well too. But I know when I first heard the term, it went in one ear and out the other. Didn't have anything to do with me. I wasn't insulin resistant, but I didn't know, right? We don't know what we don't know. And I think that the topic is something that needs to be discussed because it's not discussed enough in doctors' offices. In the statistics in this country is that 93% of this country has poor metabolic health. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. So whether you're here and you've never heard the term insulin resistance, or maybe you have and you understand fully to the fullest extent everything insulin resistant, we're just going to welcome everybody tonight. We have a couple of medical professionals with us this evening that are going to be able to tell their story and also share what they know and have learned about insulin resistance in an effort to educate those of you that may not know or maybe just need some refreshing or whatever the case may be. We're happy that you're here. Thank you for joining us. And my name is Becky. I'm from Northern Michigan. And the lady in the middle, her name is Holly. She is someone that we grew up in the same town. We went to school together. There's a little bit of a history there. She is a family nurse practitioner. I don't remember what the C stands for, Holly. So maybe you can talk about that a little bit more when you go through your slides. And then Rachel is someone that was able, I've been able to and blessed to have met a couple years ago. And she is was a hospice nurse. You'll have to correct me. I think I always get that wrong, was a hospice nurse. And she has an incredible story, an incredible journey. Her mom, she was able to advocate for her mom, and you'll hear all about that. And so we're going to talk about that. I also have a young lady that's going to be joining us here shortly. Her name is Tracy, and she has an incredible transformation. She has not been on this journey of hers, this health journey, very long, and she's already had incredible results. So without further ado, Holly, I wanted to kind of turn to you. I think I typically will have hi, Tracy. Thanks for
Hi.
joining us. I think I typically will have give a testimony or two, but I think just because I'm going to do things a little bit different, and I want to make sure that I go over the slides before I lose them. I'm going to have you, if you would, just kind of introduce yourself first, and then let me know when you're ready for the slides. And we're just going to kind of dive into the science of insulin resistance first this evening. So, Holly, my dear friend Holly, wonderful lady, if you could just kind of tell your story, where you came from as far as like what got you into the field of health, what were you personally kind of struggling with, and then what kind of led you to joining the Feel Great family and being able to do the science call with us tonight.
Yeah. My name's Holly Erke. I'm a family nurse practitioner, and the C stands for that I'm board certified family nurse practitioner. I went to State University. I had been a registered nurse. Let me think, 1993, I think it was. And then I worked most of my life in the emergency room, and then decided to go back. I've been a nurse practitioner for 10 years. And I work in the Indian River area. I used to work at the family medical practice down there. And what I have been noticing, people younger and younger are being diagnosed with insulin resistance and the metabolic disorders that go along with it. You had mentioned, Becky, that 93% of people are metabolically unhealthy, and that's true. And I'm seeing both in my previous practice and now that people are being diagnosed at a younger age with hyperlipidemia, fatty liver disease, hypertension, diabetes, pre-diabetes, just to mention a few. And how I kind of got involved with the Feel Great system is patient of mine was in the protocol, and he's now my neighbor. A lot of you may know him. It's John Cox, and he had an amazing transformation. And the crazy part about my where I'm working now, I've had a couple patients, not on my own doing, but they came to me and they showed me, because they were seeing an outside provider, and the transformation that they have had themselves with using the protocol. And they wanted to know, is it okay if I do this? And of course, because their blood levels and everything are looking great. But what I kind of wanted to share tonight, I'm going to call this, causes of insulin resistance part 2. We had a little presentation that we did a couple weeks ago, and I kind of wanted to follow up on some of the causes related, to insulin resistance and kind of a bit more. So Becky, if you just kind of want to pull up the slides, I'll let you know when I want, I guess, switch to the next slide.
Perfect.
So I'm just going to kind of talk about a few things related to the slides as well. So, just picture, what if the key to your body's energy all of a sudden someday stopped working? Imagine that you're extremely hungry and you just ate a full meal, but now your body has plenty of sugar in the bloodstream and it's ready to use the energy, but it can't. Okay. So, but what if the hormone responsible for unlocking your cells and letting that sugar into the cells stopped working? And that's kind of what happens with insulin resistance. Insulin acts as a key to help unlock the cells, to allow glucose to come in, to help your body, work and run on energy. And there's 2 different sources of energy, one glucose, and the other one is fat. And when the body stops responding to insulin, what happens? Sugar starts to build up into the bloodstream. And over time, this can lead to many serious health problems, such as type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver disease, heart disease, cancer, just to name a few. So what we're going to kind of talk about tonight is to explore some of the causes of insulin resistance and what we can do to help prevent them. So I'm looking at I have it on my phone, so it's a little bit small as I'm talking here. That's okay. So first of all, just to recap from what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, insulin is a hormone that's made by your pancreas, and its main job is to help sugar, which is also called glucose, move from the bloodstream into your body's cells. And the cells then use that energy, the sugar, as the energy source. And think of it as like the insulin is a key that helps unlock the cell to allow that glucose to come in. But with what happens with insulin resistance, the cells stop responding, or maybe they only partially open, the door to let the insulin in to start working. And then what happens over time, the insulin starts building up in the bloodstream, leading to what's called hyperinsulinemia, when you have high levels of insulin within the bloodstream, and to high levels of sugar within that then can cause type 2 diabetes. So if you want to go on to the next slide, maybe. I'm trying to remember what that one is. So there's 2 different causes for insulin resistance. One is called primary causes, and the other one is secondary. So primary causes is when a stimuli that can cause insulin resistance, independent of anything else, varies within the body. So the 3 different areas are inflammation, hormones, and then hyperinsulinemia. And so what I mean by inflammation, this is elevated levels of inflammatory proteins that cause inflammation in the body. And then this can sometimes lead to arthritis, autoimmune diseases, chronic injuries, or orthopedic issues, to talk about a few. But I'm going to talk about some other causes that are basically what I would say man-made. We've done it to ourselves. Then the hormones, which can cause elevated stress in the body. And the main sources of those are cortisol and epinephrine. And this is your fight or flight system. And then chronic elevated levels of insulin, which I had mentioned is called hyperinsulinemia. Now, if you want to go to the next slide, Becky, the secondary causes, this is very interesting. It's from linolenic acid. And this is found in seed oils. And I hate to say this is the American diet from so many ultra processed foods and high uses of seed oils in, a lot of different products. So what happens with the linolenic acid, when the fat cells start to accumulate, the acid forces itself into the fat cells to make them grow or become what's called hypertrophic. And then the cells are getting too big. And then instead of multiplying, they just become bigger and bigger and then develop insulin resistance. And then you'll see this in people that have like visceral fat. And what I'm referring to is, they have belly fat, but it's that really hard belly fat. And their abdomen is hard. It's not the jiggly fat is what I refer to. And then you'll see this too with people that have liver disease. Want to pull up the next one. And this just kind of talks about inflammation, some of the things that are man-made related to the inflammation, and, smoking, dietary means obesity, lack of exercise, and, I hate to say a high sugary diet, all leads to, chronic inflammation. If you want to go to the next one. And then dealing with like our stress and our stress hormones. Studies have shown that people that are under chronic stress have chronic elevated cortisol levels. And then along with chronic elevated cortisol levels causes, sleep disturbances. And then what you'll find is then over time, elevated insulin levels. If you want to go to the next one. And this, I'm just going to kind of combine these next couple of slides. And, this one has to do with poor sleep. So like I said, people that, and I've just read this study, it was a week ago, and it was very, very interesting to me. They said people that get 6 hours or less of sleep on a regular basis are equivalent to drinking, I forgot how many alcoholic drinks they said, and some people almost feel drunk, they said in the study. And I thought that was very interesting because then they correlated it to elevated cortisol levels and, chronic comorbidities, because of lack of sleep. So sleep is so important, and it's an easy thing to do, but so many times, due to busy lifestyles, or we're busy moms, or we're working, you put sleep on the back burner. But really, truly, if you're not getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep every single night, it can lead to chronic comorbidities. And next slide, please. So many of the causes of insulin resistance are related to lifestyle habits, that we bring on ourselves. Too many sugars, sugary foods, sugary drinks, processed foods, and what happens over time, the cells on our body just become less and less responsive to insulin. Not getting enough physical activity is a huge thing. Exercise helps use the glucose in our cells more effectively. And then when we become sedentary and not moving enough, we're not using the insulin and using up our fuel sources effectively, and leads to high insulin levels. Being overweight, especially like I had mentioned, carrying around that excess, fat around your abdomen, increases your risks. Poor sleeping habits. But the good thing is there's lifestyle changes that we can do to help reduce this. If you want to go on to the next one. Can't remember. This is just talking again about some of the sugar overload, and the different types of foods, processed foods, sugary foods, and drinks that we do on a regular basis. If you want to go to the next one.
Whoops. 1 second. I went too far.
That's
there
okay.
You go.
Not all causes of insulin resistance are just specifically related to lifestyle. Sometimes due to chronic inflammation can interfere with insulin and how it works. Sometimes hormonal conditions such as polycystic ovarian syndrome is strongly linked to insulin resistance. Sometimes certain medications like steroids, prednisone, sometimes patients need to be on prednisone for, maybe autoimmune diseases or things related to chronic inflammation. Some even blood pressure medications are related to this also. In addition, fat buildup on the liver and muscles can make it harder and harder for insulin to do its job. Let's see here. So some of the things that we can do are eating a well-balanced meal with lots of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins to help keep our blood sugar stable and down, getting regular exercise. And it's 150 minutes per week. And I tell that to patients all the time. And it seems like a lot, but it's only 30 minutes, 5 days a week. And I tell them, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. I mean, going for a power walk. And when I mean a power walk, when spring comes, it's not looking at your neighbor's flowers or looking at the deer in your neighbor's backyard. You're on a move. And it's 30 minutes, keeping your heart rate greater than 100. And using your extremities and getting a good workout, keeping that heart rate up. Maintaining a healthy weight to help reduce stress, on the body's hormones, getting enough sleep, managing your stress, sometimes I tell patients, doing yoga, chai tea, if you like to, read, listen to calming music, helps bring cortisol levels down. And, the prevention starts with small lifestyle changes and doing a little bit every day. When I tell patients, if you want to try to make lifestyle changes, work on one thing first, maybe work on your diet first. And then after you get that down, then a couple of weeks later, add in some exercise. Because if you try to take on too much at one time, you set yourself up for failure. But something, and I want to go to the next slide, that sometimes it will help jumpstart your system. It's going to help you feel good. It's going to help you. For my big thing was get regular. I'm a very poor sleeper, and these products have really helped me get good quality sleep, so I feel refreshed in the morning. And it's made from a good fiber and a source of Unamate tea that really helps me feel refreshed. It comes in many different flavors. One of my good things, because I'm a coffee drinker, I like to mix the new flavor of the brownie mint it is in the morning with my coffee.
Yep.
So I have my coffee in the morning, and then I switch over to the lemon drink during the morning. But this is a good thing, it's in the PDR. Patients always wonder, what is this product, and where can I get it? I said, it's in the PDR. There's so many different reputable studies that have been done on this product that I think it was the University of Boston, Cleveland Clinic, that, and I'll be honest, I have patients that come in that, say, maybe 6 months prior to, I said, you really got to work on lifestyle changes. They don't want to do any medications, which I'm all for. I'm probably the one provider that's going to write the least prescriptions, and I want them to work on lifestyle changes because that's the thing that's going to stay. And then when they come back to see me, they're like, hey, I just want to let you know, I tried this product, I hope you're not upset. I'm like, so then I start smiling because I know what they're going to say, and we talk about their, maybe their fatty liver's gone down, they're no longer pre-diabetic, or their diabetes numbers have improved, or their insulin, or not insulin, but their hyperlipidemia has improved. And it's all because. So that's kind of my little spiel for tonight.
I love it. Well, thank you, Holly. I appreciate that. A wealth of knowledge as always. Very much appreciate what you bring to the table every time. I've watched Holly on a couple of different calls. Like I said, we kind of grew up together, so I knew her. She went to school with my sister, nursing school with my sister at the same time. And so she's been in this field for a long time, you guys. And so I just appreciate the fact that she can come with not only the expertise in as a medical professional, but also have the outlook like she does is very, very refreshing. And so, Holly, I did want to ask you though, because I know that you mentioned fatty liver disease. Do you know a couple weeks ago? Well, it's probably been longer than that now, but I was actually speaking with a family, and their 10-year-old son has fatty liver disease. And so when I do these lives, like that just kind of it hurts my heart, first of all, right? I tell people that we focus on food so much. Why do you focus on food? Why do you guys slam on food so much? Food is the one thing that we can control, right? I'm glad that you brought up the fact of the linoleic acid and the seed oils. And, I said, we're the ones that go to the store and buy the food. We're the ones who choose which drive through we're going to go to, or how we prepare our foods at home. And so to have a 10-year-old already in such a short span of life have to be dealing with something like fatty liver disease is just kind of mind boggling to me. Do you see that a lot?
Yes. When I was doing family practice, I still remember one time drawing, it was a preteens labs, and their labs, I'm not joking, the blood looked like Elmer's glue with a little bit of red Kool-Aid. And it was because their triglycerides were so, so high.
Oh,
This child was probably anywhere from 10 to like 13. And, there was some significant family history, but more and more obesity. I mean, you know, all of my life I've been more on the thin side. I'm a normal BMI, and I hate to say it, the American way. People say, "Oh, you're too thin." No, I am a normal BMI, and I hate to say in America we've elevated what normal's supposed to look like.
yeah. Yes.
um, I don't even know what the statistic is for people with obesity, but I know more than 50% of people over the age of 18 are either diabetic or diabetic. That's
It's
sad.
so sad. It's
Yeah.
so sad. It's so sad. And, we talk so many of these diseases, and this is why I try to kind of target and pinpoint too, are considered age related. And I said, well, sure, you might be suffering from some of these health issues in your 40s and your 50s, but it's because we've been becoming insulin resistant for the past 10, 15, 20 years, right? That it's come with age, but it's not because you're 30 or because you're 40 or 50 that we have these issues. It's because of the root cause insulin resistance. So that's part of the reason why we do these calls and these lives here. So Holly, thank you so much. I appreciate all the information that you brought tonight.
I want to say one thing,
Yeah,
I can't stress this enough to people, is like you said, the one thing that we do have control over is our food. And what I tell patients all the time, don't buy it. Just don't buy. Buy better with your food. If you're going to be tempted to buy an Oreos, and you're going to eat the whole thing in 2 nights, don't buy it. You
yeah,
know, find a
yeah,
healthy alternative. I make these like little protein balls, out of flaxseed and chia seeds, and oatmeal and things like that.
yeah.
And a healthy alternative. We just have to be more conscious of what we're buying and putting into our bodies, into our children's bodies.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Thank you. So we're going to shift and I'm going to actually have, Rachel, I'm going to save you for last. If I could, Tracy, I'm going to turn to you for a few minutes. So Tracy is somebody that we're actually meeting kind of for the first time through this live, never really met in person yet, but she has an incredible story. And I reached out to her and asked her to be on this live tonight because I was blown away. I failed Tracy, to upload your before and after pictures. So as you're speaking, I'm going to try and put it on my phone and put it in my camera so people can see your amazing, amazing transformation. I did get to hear her story a little bit last night. And so I'm very, very excited for you guys to get to listen to Tracy because she's somebody that has that was struggling and she's well on her way to good health. And so, Tracy, if you would, when you start, would you just kind of share with us what you were dealing with your health and then kind of where you are today, just kind of quick journey?
Yes. So you can hear me okay, right?
Absolutely.
So my journey started because typical, your mom, you put your kids first, everything. And I went from being normal BMI to so obese feeling. It even, they were telling me, oh, you're not obese, you're over obese, you're extra obese. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. And I got sick of the fact I couldn't move as much, I couldn't do things as much.
Mhm.
The doctor told me, "Oh, you have fatty liver, but it's not that big a deal." I'm like, "How is it not a big deal?" I ended up seeing Sarah, who Telganoff, she's been doing this, and I was watching her transformation. I'm like, okay, I gotta look into this. So one thing I noticed is a lot of doctors that I've dealt with will tell me your numbers are borderline, so you're, and I'm like, I don't want to be borderline anymore. I don't want to be that person. And I am definitely a, hey, look at that candy bar. I'm gonna have 4 of them now. And I just was like she said, stop buying that food. And I finally was like, I need to stop doing that. I started the program. My goal is to be down 50 pounds in a year. I still have, gosh, I think I still have 4 months, and I only have 3 to go. So I'm down 47 pounds. And that picture right there, I'm only down about 30 or 35. And I did not realize, and when you see the pictures, I'm like, wow, I did not realize I was that big and struggling that much. I mean, like right now, I can sit on the floor and still get up. I can do things I haven't been able to do. And I noticed my kids are, they're in their 20s now, but they're like, hey, we're going to go to McDonald's. You want anything? No, I don't. They're like, what about a salad? No, no, I don't want a salad from McDonald's. I can make a salad, but I'm trying to show them like, hey, you need to eat this stuff. You need to do this stuff, and to show them they're very tiny right now, but I don't want them to look at food the way I used to look at food, and it has changed my life completely. All my numbers are amazing now. Um, my favorite thing, I've lost over 30 inches on my body, and 30, it's like amazing. And it feels so good. It feels good to look at people and buy new clothes and just everything about it. And I have noticed people are like, oh, it's kind of expensive. And I'm like, no, it's not. I spent more at Starbucks than I do on this a day.
Yes.
And now I don't buy Starbucks because I got Starbucks as a treat for myself one day. And I was so upset because I took a drink and I was like, this doesn't even taste good anymore. That extra sugar just it's almost like you could taste the weightedness of it. And you just,
Yes.
the best thing I could say is like, boom, you have it and you're like, no, put it aside. And I threw the whole thing away. I was like, oh well, wasting $5, but threw it away. And now when I stop at Starbucks, it's just because my kid works there, and I'm like, hey, how are you? It's like, mom's just stopping to say hi. But
Oh,
yeah, I don't need that. And so just the money I have saved on food amazes me. And now when I look at things, I check the package real quick and I'm like, oh, okay. I take care of my elderly mom, and I make sure she's eating good now. And she can tell the difference. She's like, oh, I didn't realize that was bothering me before.
mhm.
It's such a huge help. And for me, just I love the fact that, well, one, my stomach is not way sticking out. It wasn't the hard yet, but it was getting there. And I'm like, huh, I have a firm stomach, and that's not what I want. And now it's flat, it's going down, and it's just, I mean, to be able to go, I was in an extra large, pushing to an extra extra large, and now I can fit into mediums. And I look at my BMI and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's getting better and better. And it's not just the weight, it's the inches. And for me, it's the feeling healthy. Um,
Yes.
Sarah said it at the beginning. She goes, Tracy, you're going to feel better from the inside out. And you do
I
so
love
much.
that.
Yes. And I'm like, that's just the healthiness of it. I absolutely love it. I love how I feel. I love the fact that I brought mine to my doctor, and she's like, I don't know what this is. I'm going to look into it, but keep doing it. And she goes, that is amazing.
That's
That,
wonderful.
thank you.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. I was blown away, like I said, when I heard yours, and every single time, and I'm sure that Holly and Rachel can kind of attest to this too, because I'm sure that they hear it quite a bit. I was speaking to a friend of mine who's also from the same area that I grew up in. She reached out to me earlier today, and she asked me about the ingredients about a week ago, right? She informed me today that her endocrinologist told her that she does not want her taking it. And I'm like, what? Why would somebody, it's in the PDR, It's an all natural plant based. I don't understand the mindset, I think. And maybe it's just because that's kind of my mindset. So after my cancer diagnosis, I remember standing in my doctor's office and him saying, I had had a hysterectomy. I had had 2 surgeries 8 weeks apart. They thought it was fibroids. I was extremely anemic. My hemoglobin level is 4.7, had 3 pints of blood. Found out I also had positive receptor cells, so I can't have estrogen. So instead, we're going to try this med, or we're going to try. And I just remember think like, and I'm not saying that it's not right, but so many people just so blindly follow without. I said to this woman, please do some research of your own. Please make decisions. It's your body, your choice, right? You have to be in control of what path you end up going down. And I tried to encourage her to not necessarily go against her doctor, but I'm just like, well, I just don't understand. So many people, she has stage 3 chronic kidney disease, and there have been so many people with excellent results with chronic kidney disease on this program, completely reverse it. And so I'm just like, maybe it's just me and my mindset, but it just boggles my mind with when a medical professional is like, oh, no, you stay away from that. I just don't get it.
Get that. For me too, I'm off a lot of medications. My anti, I'm not completely off it, but it's more than half of what I was taking before. My high blood pressure medication, I'm off. All the different acid reflux medicine, I'm off that completely now. So for me, that is huge.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm glad that you were able to help advocate for your mom.
Thank you.
So yeah, absolutely. Rachel is also an advocate for her mom, and Rachel is also in the medical field. And Rachel, if you would, I kind of want to like lead into having you share your story and then what you want to share. I know Holly did an excellent job at covering the insulin resistance, but today Alzheimer's is such an epidemic. So many people, I mean, I worked in an AFC home for 3 years. It was a memory care home. It was a 12 resident home. Every single resident had some level of dementia or Alzheimer's. They're calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. You guys, it goes from you're not on the scale at all, and before you know it, your blood sugar's elevated, you're pre-diabetic, your A1C is within that range, and if it's not controlled, it's going to get into the type 2 diabetes range. And then if that's not controlled, you're going to end up with the age-related disease of Alzheimer's. It's type 3 diabetes. And so I think that we are just on this path of, in pre-diabetes, they're just kind of monitored, and I could be wrong here, I'm just guessing here. I think that they more monitor pre-diabetes. Let's try to manage what you're eating. Let's try to get a little bit more exercise, diet and exercise. And then once you hit that type 2, it's like, okay, we're going to put you on some medication because, you didn't do it on your own. So here, let me help manage that symptom with some medications. And if it's not controlled well enough, we're going to end up in a home in our later years because we now have type 3 diabetes. And so I don't know if that's something you kind of want to touch on or not, Rachel, but Rachel is just an absolute ray of sunshine. If you ever get to spend time with Rachel, Rachel, you've been in several of my lives, and I really, really enjoyed getting to spend some one-on-one time with you in Vegas. And so if you would just kind of share your story with those of us that maybe have not heard it yet, and then share whatever you'd like to as far as health is concerned, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. And Becky, likewise. I so enjoyed spending time with you. We've gotten to hang out a few times, and it's been amazing. I
Yeah.
first want to say, Holly, it is just such a breath of fresh air seeing a nurse practitioner on here that understands this and get this, because I'm just going to kind of lead into the medical part, and then I'll lead into my story just to kind of touch on that Alzheimer's. So when I worked in hospice, I did a lot of, in my later years working in assisted living facilities, and many of them had dementia units. And so I worked quite a bit in those units and saw firsthand. My grandmother also died of Alzheimer's. And I think one of the big things that I've learned, I don't know how well you guys can see this, but I call this the wheel of insulin resistance. And it's because wherever that insulin is getting stored in your body is how it's going to show up in your life. You don't get to choose where it lands on the wheel, right? We could spin this, it's going to land wherever it lands, and lucky you, you get to deal with the repercussions of that. And so if it is where that insulin is getting into the brain, like getting stored too much sugar, you're going to end up with the type 3 diabetes. If it's in the liver, you're going to see with that fatty liver. If it's just in the bloodstream and, like the type 2 diabetes where it's affecting, you're going to see it with the type 2 diabetes. And that leads into a whole cascade of health issues. Type 2 diabetes is a major, major issue that is not being managed properly. And I think as a nurse, I just keep going back to, if we were doing things right, we would all not be getting sicker. Heart disease, diabetes, all of it. So clearly we are not doing something right, because I can tell you, I have done all the things they've told me to do over the years, and I was not getting healthier. I was getting sicker and sicker. And so, as a hospice nurse, I kind of learned that things do get chronic and progressive. You will continue to go into that chronic and progressive stage unless you decide to make a lifestyle change. And only you can decide to do that. But I'm also going to share that whatever you choose to do, it impacts you and it impacts those that are around you and love you. So it doesn't just impact your life. I see so many people that maybe they have high blood pressure or they're dealing with the diabetes. They'll say, oh, I'll just deal with whatever. I'll just take the consequences. You know what I mean? And they're not thinking about, I think a lot of people think it's going to take them out. Like they're not going to have to worry about it. I'll just have a stroke or have a heart attack and I'll be done with it. But it doesn't work that way. And I see Holly laughing because she knows. Often what happens is your quality of life is drastically impacted by that disease process. And it will get chronic and progressively worse unless you make a choice to make a change. And so I always say nothing changes unless you make a change, right? Nothing changes unless something changes. And so back in April of 2024, my story is it's almost got 3 parts to it. And I think it's kind of evolved on my journey using this protocol, because when I first started the protocol, it was strictly from a health standpoint that I had been dealing with elevated blood glucose levels, high cholesterol since my late 30s, and I was at the heaviest I'd ever been in my life. My husband and I have this conversation. We don't like where we're heading, and we know we need to make a change. What I didn't realize at that time was how this protocol was going to impact my life. Here I am almost 2 years later. So just to kind of back up a little bit, to give a little preface to that, in April of 2020, something triggered my immune system, and it was like a light switch. One day I was normal, and the next day I was not. I had chronic fatigue, joint pain so bad that I could feel every single joint where it connected on my bone. I was breaking out in chronic hives and brain fog so bad that I thought I had like dementia. I really did not know what was wrong with me. And I tried all kinds of natural things. I dealt with this for over 4 years. And although after about 2 years in, and it was miserable. If you've ever had chronic hives, I had an idiopathic form of it. So no known cause. They didn't know. There was no like rhyme or reason. But the one thing that I always broke out with was beef. And so I really think I have alpha-gal. I've not been diagnosed with that, but I can't eat beef anymore. And so just to kind of tell you about that too, because there has been some major improvement in my inflammation on my journey. But my husband and I decided in April, we're going to start on this protocol, or I'm going to start on this protocol. He wasn't going to do it. He was resistant. But anyway, he did end up doing it. He's still doing it. But 2 months in, July 1st, my mom has a stroke. And so my mom says after her first stroke, when I get out of the hospital, I'm going to start on the protocol. It's just 3 simple things. It's 2 drinks and a fiber supplement that we do every day. Easiest thing I've ever done in my life. As the week went on, as they were lowering my mom's blood pressure, she had 2 more strokes. So she was in worse shape by the time we left the hospital than when we got there. And let me tell you, this has been the biggest blessing that has ever happened in my life, because it gave me a tool to help my mom, and it gave me a tool to advocate for my mom. So she gets out of the hospital. We start on the protocol. We have to follow up with the doctor, after you get discharged from the hospital. And we go in, and amazing nurse practitioner, absolutely love her. And she says to my mom, your A1C was 7.2. You have type 2 diabetes, and it's chronic and progressive, and I want to put you on this medicine. And I looked at the doctor and I said, type 2 diabetes is a lifestyle disease. And she did not disagree with me. And I told her, I said, we just started on this protocol. I said, it's in the PDR. There are 5 patents. There's over 20 clinical studies. And as Holly mentioned, I mean, quality studies, Cleveland Clinic, Stanford University, UNLV, University of Sydney. I mean, these are not small studies. And I said, give us 90 days, please. Just recheck my mom's A1C and her lipid panel, and let's have a conversation. And I'll be honest, I'd only been using this for a few months. I was not expecting anything miraculous or anything. I didn't know what to expect, right? So 2.5 months later, we go back, we get my mom's labs done. My mom's A1C went from 7.2, which anything over 6.5 is type 2 diabetes, down to 5.7, on the cusp of prediabetes. I know, it was unbelievable. We were almost in tears, and I think the nurse practitioner was just as shocked as we were. But my mom having a stroke, I also had done some research on cholesterol. And in one of the books that I had read, they talked about the importance of cholesterol for your brain, and especially in somebody recovering from a stroke. And so when I saw my mom's lipid panel, I was really concerned. Her cholesterol, this is from July to the end of September, went from 209 to 81. It was too low. But the one that scared me even more was her LDL went from 137 down to 20. And I heard there is an increased risk of mortality, not being here, right, with a low LDL. And so at that point, I had to advocate for my mom again. I said, look, we're doing the protocol. You can see my mom has made a lifestyle change. This is the only thing we did. And I said, I think we need to go off the statin. And she was pretty adamant about not going off of that. She said, that's part of her stroke protocol. We need to be on it. And I said, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm going to tell you, we're going to go off it. And just do me a huge favor. Just recheck my mom in 90 days. We'll make sure she's still in a good range and see where we're at. And she's okay, we can do that. So we went back in 90 days. They're like, yeah, she doesn't need a statin. So for my mom, it has been a huge tool. I mean, she's lost almost 40 pounds. She's still on her blood pressure medicine, but everything is just so much more managed, her energy, and she looks absolutely amazing. She lived with me up until a few months ago. She was actually able back home, which I did not know if she would be able to ever go back home again. So
Aww.
it's been, I can't say enough about this simple protocol, but I want to share about me. Remember how I told you guys I was having all that inflammation? And so after being on this, I mean, looking back at about 1.5 years point, I look back and I'm like, I can't remember the last time I had a flare. Like, I have not had a chronic hive. I'm not having joint pain. I'm not having fatigue. I'm not having any of those chronic symptoms that plagued me for over 4 years. And I really, when I got on this protocol, I really wasn't thinking I was ever going to get rid of those things. Like, I just thought, this is my new normal. This is just the way my life is now. I got my life back. I mean, I could cry over it. It is, I am just absolutely amazed and blown away by this simple lifestyle change and the impact that it's had on my life in so many ways. I mean, so many. People that are on the fence, I mean, These packets are $1.77 a piece. I mean, this is a candy bar. This is an energy
Yeah,
drink. This
less
is a
than.
coffee. I mean, I got my life back. How many of us are dealing with inflammation, fatigue, on top of all the other health issues? I see
Right.
so many people with inflammation.
Yeah.
And when you look at my pictures, I mean, I don't know how well you guys can see this, but this is me in 2023. This is me last April. I mean, you can just see the difference in my face.
Yeah.
I,
I've seen the transformation. I watched it.
I know you really have. I know. And it's not just us. I mean, we see this in person after person after person. I have a dear friend that has Lyme disease. She has
Mm.
been struggling since 2020. I mean, very sick. And when she started on this back in October, 2 weeks in, she messaged me and she said, Rachel, I was ready to go on disability. I didn't know what else. I have dealt with this for so long, kind of like me. You just kind of think you don't have any other options.
Right.
And she says, this is giving me hope. She's doing amazing on it. I just, if you're on the fence, you have nothing to lose. And I think the thing is people think these things are going to happen. I hear so many people say, I'll try it for a month. I told you it took me a year and a half. I don't know when exactly that stopped, but this does not happen overnight. These things took decades to happen. You have to let your body have time to fix itself at the cellular level. And once
Yeah.
that cellular level starts getting balanced and working properly, you see so many other things fall into place. I mean, like for me, my restless leg went away. My hot flashes went away. I lost my midsection that, most people my age don't lose easily. I mean, just one thing after another. It has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it absolutely has. Well, thank you, Rachel. I appreciate, again, everything that you bring to the table when you join me with one of these lives. I appreciate your time, as well as all of you ladies. Thank you so much. So perhaps you're trying to figure out what exactly it is that we're talking about as far as, well, actually, you've learned what insulin resistance is, maybe a little bit about how we became insulin resistant, and then what we can do about these health issues, just like we've all talked about tonight. So I just kind of want to touch a little bit real quick on that exact thing. For example, starting out, when we're told to eat several small meals a day, when we're told to start with breakfast because it's the most important meal of the day, this is what I'm referring to when I talk about how we are in complete control of the foods. We choose what food we're going to buy. We choose how we prepare it at home. We choose what drive-through we end up going through in the mornings, afternoons, evenings, whenever that is. And so this constant snacking and eating all day long, even if it's, if you're one to cook meals in the kitchen, I don't know if you do this or not, or if it's just me. It's probably just me. But as I'm cooking, I'm constantly tasting. If I'll open up a bag of something, I got to eat a couple of it before it goes in the pot. You know what I mean? Like we just, without even really realizing, without a full awareness of how many times we're popping a little bit of this or that in our mouth outside of mealtime, we stay in constant food for fuel mode rather than burning stored fat for fuel, like Holly was talking about earlier. And so this is part of the problem. The other problem is we've taken so much fiber out of our foods. If you stop and look at this apple real quick, when you peel this apple and then juice this apple, this apple is primarily three things: fiber, right? The peeling, the sugar, and the water. And when you remove the fiber, you ended up with sugar water. Essentially, it's liquid sugar. Same thing, we're all familiar with white rice, but it doesn't look like that when it starts out. And so we process this. It goes through a refining process, and we've stripped these products of fiber. And having a lack of fiber in our everyday diet is having a toll over several years. We don't get nearly the amount of fiber that we're supposed to. I think women are supposed to have somewhere between, and the ladies can correct me if I'm wrong, are supposed to have somewhere between 25 and 27 grams of fiber. I think we get on average 10 to 12. I think men are supposed to be between like 30 and 35, something like that. And on average, I think they get about 14 to 16. We're only getting half of the amount of fiber. Not only that, when we sit down to a meal, how much of our meal is carbohydrate? How much of our meal is processed foods? So if you're somebody who's on a weight loss journey, let me just throw this statistic out to you. Do you know that the rule of thumb is whatever your desired weight is, let's say your desired weight is 150 pounds, you should be consuming 1 gram of protein for every 1 pound of desired weight. Are you getting 50 grams of protein a day? I beg, I don't think so. I knew I wasn't. And if we were fueling with fat, if we were building our muscles with protein, if we were actually getting the macros that are essential to life, we would notice a difference. So one of the ways that we fix that problem is that we incorporate this fiber into our meal. We take one prior to our carb heaviest meal. This fiber specifically was studied by the University of Sydney. They created the glycemic index. We take this once a day. It helps to curb your appetite. It suppresses your appetite, it curbs those cravings. It slows down digestion. This is the exact same thing as drugs like Ozempic does. Slows down your digestion without the risk, like those pharmaceutical drugs can do, of causing oh shoot, I just lost the word, ladies, where your stomach becomes paralyzed.
Like gastroparesis.
Thank you. Gastroparesis. This is an all natural fiber that helps to slow down digestion without the risk of gastroparesis. Thank you. And it helps to support healthy weight management because we are staying full for longer after meals. We're not wanting to snack in between. So this is one drink that we have once a day. The other thing that we drink twice a day is something called Unimate. This helps to support cognitive, because when you can fast, your body is also using, besides glucose for fuel, your body's also able to burn something called ketones, and your brain cells thrive on ketones. And so being able to fast for small periods of time throughout the day allows your body to not only burn ketones, but also burn a hormone called GLP-1 and actually produce more GLP-1 than we're getting right now without the use of pharmaceuticals. So this study that you'll see up here in the light green box shows that the Unimate results versus somebody who's just doing a water fast, you're actually producing upwards of 67% more GLP-1 just by incorporating this Unimate. We drink twice a day. Once in the morning, we're going to get up and just sip on that. If you have your coffee first, have your coffee, but avoid the sugars, avoid the, sugary or seed oil filled flavored creamers. And just, if you got to add something to your coffee, throw some heavy whipping cream in there. You're getting some really great fats without breaking your fast. And then maybe you like hot chocolate, then you can do like Holly was saying and use the mint chocolate brownie in place. We would drink this twice a day. We're just constantly slowly dripping this into our system throughout the day, and it keeps us satiated. It keeps the food noise shut off. We don't think about it. And so, Leanne posted in the comments that it's $5.30 a day for this system. It comes with a 90-day money back guarantee. You literally don't have anything to lose. If you do not see measurable results at the end of those 90 days, you get your money back. We have a neat little fasting app that you can keep track of your progress. And it's the easiest thing that we've ever done. And so if you're here because somebody happened to tag you, you got a notification that somebody mentioned you in a comment, you checked it out, and that's how you ended up here, please get back with that person. If Tracy tagged you, please get back with Tracy. She can help get this product in your hand at the lowest possible price. If you know Rachel, if you know Holly, please get with these ladies. We want to make sure that you get locked in with a discounted price. It's good for life. You can cancel this whenever you want to, though. I know Rachel's talked about she's been on this for a couple of years. I've been on this for 3 years, a little over 3 years now. And it's the easiest, best thing that I've ever made, a decision that I've ever made for my life. So that's pretty much the Feel Great system in a nutshell. Holly, Rachel, Tracy, thank you so much, ladies, for being here. Is there anything that any of you wanted to add before we close this evening?
It's awesome. Do it.
how better could we end than it's awesome, do it. Who is it Sarah? No, somebody says, oh, I think it's Sherry Kramer usually says, like the Nike commercial, just do it. That's what she was told, just do it. Okay, are we all set? Anybody have anything else to add? If you guys have any questions, please feel free. If you're watching this and it's a replay, please feel free to still tag one of us in the comments and ask your question. We still want to be able to assist with some of those questions outside of this live. So if you're watching this as a replay, still feel free to comment in the comments. We want to be able to help anybody that's interested. All right. Thanks again, ladies. I appreciate every single one of you. And hopefully we'll see y'all soon. Thanks so much for being here this evening. And you guys have a great night.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
you too.